Sunday to you all. It's Sunday lunchtime and time for another weekend book club, I guess you'd call it. We got 3 picture books again today, back to normal tomorrow with The Enchanted Wood, but 3 more picture books today chosen by McMolster of Old London Town, who is holding the camera today. The 3 choices today. We've got another Tom Percival book. We read this one yesterday. We read Perfectly Norman yesterday, and today's one we're going to have Ravi's Roar. I guess we'll have the other one. We'll have Ruby's Worry next week, won't we? We're also going to do Rollo and Ruff. I'm trying to think who are these people we've met. I've never met Tom Percival, but I've met Mick Inkpen. He's a lovely chap. We met him and his daughter Chloe. And the final book today is my personal favourite. I've got everything by this gentleman, Oliver Jeffers. He's absolutely my favourite illustrator. We've got various pictures of him around the house, and I met him once a couple of years ago, and I think I was in the same queue. You don't know this. I think I was in the same queue, and we'd not met Janine before. We'd not met Janine by that point, but I think she was in the same queue as me, because she met Oliver Jeffers on the same day as us. So we've got Lost and Found, which is probably Oliver Jeffers' probably most famous book, made into a lovely film if you ever get a chance. I think it's on YouTube. So we are going to start with Ravi's Roar. Okay. This is cameraman. So Ravi's Roar, Tom Percival. It's been a bit of a Tom Percival weekend, this, isn't it? We've had quite a few. So Ravi's Roar. Oh, we haven't done any shout-outs. We need to do a shout-out because we were speaking to Uncle Owen yesterday, and I think someone who deserves a shout-out is Uncle Stephen, because he is an NHS doctor working in Scotland, and he is working all the hours God sends and doing a tremendous job. So we wanted to give a big shout out to Uncle Stephen. We love you, can't wait to see you when all this is over, and we are super proud. Right, okay, Ravi's Roar. Ravi was the youngest and the smallest in his family. Should I hold it like that? That's easier. Ravi was the youngest and the smallest in his family. Everyone was bigger than him. Look, so Kieran, Jaya, Anil, and then there's Ravi, the smallest. Nanny's got a thing like that, hasn't she? You're the smallest as well. Even Biscuits the dog. Who's got a dog called Biscuits? Morph.
Yeah.
Morph's got one, yeah. Morph and Simon. Even Biscuits the dog, most of the time being the smallest, was great. But sometimes, just sometimes, it wasn't. One day, Ravi and his family went on a picnic. There was a race to the train, and guess who came last? Ravi. Everyone else got a comfy seat, but Ravi had to squash in with Dad and Biscuits. And then Biscuits made a bad smell. I don't want Trump. When everyone got to the park, they played hide and seek. It was meant to be fun, but Ravi couldn't find anyone.
We can try to find them, but not Peach.
All right.
Yeah.
Good spot one.
Yeah, there's one in the tree.
Oh yeah, good spot. Good spot. Oh, and there's the other one.
Yeah.
At the adventure playground, the monkey bars were too high. The gaps between the logs were too wide. That's your problem when we go to the park as well, isn't it? Those 2 logs are too wide. And when Ravi wanted to go on the big slide, the man said, "Sorry, son, you're too small." Ravi got so cross that his face turned red. But then Dad said, "Come on, let's get an ice cream." Everybody ran off, and guess who came last? Ravi. And then, when Ravi went to get his ice cream, there was none left. Well, that really did it. It's all building up, isn't it? Ravi's looking a bit angry. Ravi was furious. He growled, and a stripy tail popped out from the back of his shorts. Then he sprouted 2 furry ears, sharp, pointy teeth, and stripy orange fur. Ravi had turned into a tiger. The tiger took a huge deep breath and then roared. Ravi's brother looked a bit nervous and handed the tiger his ice cream. When the tiger went to sit down, there were no benches free, so he roared and everybody got out of the way. It was great being a tiger. The tiger did all the things that Ravi couldn't. He swung across the monkey bars, he leapt across the logs, he even slid down the big slide. Nobody dared to say no. So the tiger went wild. He roared and growled and did exactly what he wanted, but soon he found that nobody wanted to play with him. Suddenly the tiger felt a bit sad and nowhere near as cross. In fact, he couldn't quite remember what had made him so angry in the first place. Keeps all building up, doesn't it? "I'm sorry," said the tiger in a quiet voice, and when he said that, everything felt better. "That's okay," said Dad. "Well done for saying sorry." Then, without even realising, Ravi became a boy once more, and that was the last time that Ravi ever turned into a tiger. Although, every now and then, he did have a bit of a growl. And there he is making a sandcastle with biscuits. So there we've got the other two books. So Ruby's Worry we're going to have this time next week, I guess. Okay, that was Ravi's Roar. And now, Rollo and Ruff. So it's Rollo and Ruff. Have we got another Rollo and Ruff book? Is this the only Rollo and Ruff book?
Yeah. This one's the little fluff.
So
and the little
Rollo and
fluffy
Ruff and the Little Fluffy Bird. I bet it'll say if there's another one. I feel we've got another one, but maybe we haven't. Maybe this was just the first one. So, Rollo and Ruff and the Little Fluffy Bird. Rollo is on his mat in the yard behind the corner shop. The sun dawdles into the sky and the yard tap drips. Plink, plink, plink. Along comes the LFB. So the LFB is the Little Fluffy Bird. So along comes the LFB with some plastic string. The LFB is always on the lookout for things to add to her nest. "Hello, LFB. Little Fluffy Bird, in case you were wondering. It's a normal Tuesday. Except it isn't. Lately, strange things have been happening. In the night, something has chewed Rollo's mat. And this morning, his little red ball is missing. LFB, have you been pecking my mat? The LFB is too busy to answer. She's found a feather and a twig to go with her bit of plastic string. There are bits of Rollo's mat all over the yard. And something else. Little red bits. Little red bits. Bits of his little red ball. And that's not all. There are footprints. Wet footprints. But whose footprints? Rollo, come quickly. It's the LFB. She's so excited she can hardly speak. There's something asleep in my nest. It is true, there is a little pink tail. The creature is thin and scruffy and twitches in its sleep. It's clutching what's left of Rollo's little red ball. What is it? Whispers the LFB. I don't know, whispers Rollo. He sniffs the air, but whatever it is, it's a bit stinky. The creature opens an eye and gives a terrified squeak. It jumps out of the nest, scampers across the yard and disappears down the drain. Plop! And there it stays, blinking in the dark. What are you? Says Rollo. And why have you been eating my ball? There is a long silence. Then suddenly... I didn't mean to. I couldn't help it. I was hungry. I was starving. You just couldn't imagine what the other rats eat. Horrible things, slimy things, slippery things, sticky things, wriggly things, disgusting, oozy things, things that have gone green, things that have gone furry. I can't eat oozy, green, furry things. And the little rat begins to cry. My name is Ruff. It sniffs. Am I really stinky? For ages, the little rat won't come out of the drain. So Rollo brings some sweeties from the corner shop. He lays them in a long line, and soon a pointy, whiskery nose is sniffing the air, and not long after, out comes Ruff. Ruff has never tasted anything so lovely, so fantastic, and so delicious. He eats the lot, and then he falls asleep with his cheeks full of marshmallows. Ruff is dreaming of sweeties, and the LFB is whispering something in Rollo's ear. She has a plan. Yes, yes, says Rollo. We can use this. He pulls pieces out of his mat, while the LFB flies back and forth, carrying them away in her beak. Rollo wakes Ruff. Ruff, this is your new front door. But Ruff looks confused. Sleepily, he climbs back into the drain. No, 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 Ruff, not down the drain. Go up, go up, go up the pipe. So here is Ruff climbing up out of the dark, up towards the roof and out. Under the wide sky, where there are a billion stars twinkling and a nest made out of Rollo's mat just for him. Here he lies, feeling full and warm and safe and happy. Good night, Ruff. It's Rollo's voice echoing up the drain pipe. Good night, Rollo. Squeak, 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 squeak. It's the sound of the cat flap swinging on the back door of the corner shop. Everyone has gone to bed. Nobody sees Ruff come back down the drain pipe and creep across the yard. Plink, plink, plink. The yard tap drips. Splish, splash, splish. It's Ruff making sure that nobody will ever call him Stinky again. He's having a shower. And that was Rollo and Ruff and the Little Fluffy Bird, or the LFB. I'm going to have a quick swig of Pepsi Max. There you go. This weekend has been brought to you by Pepsi Max. Okay. Final one. Oliver Jeffers, Lost and Found. Some beautiful Oliver Jeffers books out there. Beautiful artist. And this is a lovely story. Like I say, I think the video is on at all good retailers. It's certainly on Sky.
Yeah.
And I think it's on YouTube. It's about 25 minutes, but it's beautiful. Lost and Found. Once there was a boy, and one day he found a penguin at his door. The boy didn't know where it had come from, but it began to follow him everywhere. The penguin looked sad, and the boy thought it must be lost. So the boy decided to help the penguin find its way home. He checked in the Lost and Found office, but no one was missing a penguin. He asked some birds if they knew where the penguin came from, but they ignored him. Some birds are like that. The boy asked his duck, but the duck floated away. He didn't know. That night, the boy couldn't sleep for disappointment. He wanted to help the penguin, but he didn't know how. The next morning, he discovered that penguins come from the South Pole. But how could he get there? He ran down the harbour and asked a big ship to take him to the South Pole, but his voice was much too small to be heard over the ship's horn. So together, he and the penguin would row to the South Pole. The boy took his rowboat out of the cupboard and they tested it for size and strength. They packed everything they would need, and together they pushed the rowboat out to sea. They rowed south for many days and nights, with the boy telling stories all the way. The penguin listened to everything that the boy said. They floated through good weather and bad, when the waves were as big as mountains, until they came to the South Pole. The boy was delighted, but the penguin said nothing. Suddenly it looked sad again as the boy helped it out the boat. Do you think there really is a sign when you get to the South Pole that says "Welcome to the South Pole"? I thought it was just a pole. The boy said goodbye and floated away. But as he looked back, the penguin looked sadder than ever. It felt strange to be on his own, and the more he thought, the more he realised he was making a big mistake. The penguin wasn't lost, he was just lonely. Quickly, he turned the boat around and headed back to the South Pole as fast as he could. At last he reached the pole again, but where was the penguin? The boy searched and searched, but he was nowhere to be found. I think we know where he is, look. Sadly, the boy set off for home. There was no point telling stories because there was no one to listen except the wind and the waves. But then the boy saw something in the water ahead of him. Closer and closer he got until he could see the penguin. And so the boy and his friend went home together, talking of wonderful things all the way. And look, and that is a picture of Oliver Jeffers when he was a little boy. So, because I think he sort of bases all of his little boy stories on him as a little boy.
He looks surprised.
He does look a little bit surprised on that one, yeah. Cool. So that was Lost and Found. I think we'll have another Oliver Jeffers next week, as we're having another Tom Percival. So that was Lost and Found, Rollo and Ruff, and the Little Fluffy Bird, and Rabbie's Roar. So we have got a quiz later on with all of the Quick family. Looking forward to that. You're doing a round, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in.
We're doing like a hobbies round where you like act out a
Oh,
hobby.
you're doing charades or whatever, aren't you?
Yeah, charades hobbies.
Guess what charades you're doing. So have a wonderful Sunday. Obey all the rules, not be one of these silly people sitting in the parks and sunbathing and all these sort of stuff, because the sooner we get this done, the sooner we can all be together. So have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Enchanted Wood. Okay, bye.